Good evening and welcome back to the channel. Duke Stefan here, and today we're having another look at an SCA fight. We're going to have a bit of a breakdown of that, try and analyze it as best as we can. As I've said before, this is something new for me. I'm not known as the world's greatest analytical fighter, so this is a challenge for me to develop my analytical skills and in the hope help other fighters as well. So we're having another look at a fight between His Majesty Leofric and Master Ianto. So we're going to have a bit of a look at this. They've had a few passes here. You can see on this video, this is a 4-minute long video. We're just over halfway through it. So they've had a few passes. I've seen a few of these. I haven't actually seen this particular fight yet. So it will be interesting to see what we see. So we'll have a look at it. Now, I'm not sure that you'll get the audio as we go through because it's a new streaming app that I'm using. So I apologize in advance if you can't hear the actual fight itself happen. I will try and work out how to make that happen in the future. So with that said, let's take a look at this fight. So Ian coming in, Ianto coming in with classic guard there. Nice leg shot. Not enough rollover on that headshot from His Majesty Leofric. This is interesting. So sword. Yep. Oh, nice sword block. Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. We'll definitely go back and look at those 3 shots there. This is a great little combat. Ianto just trying to work out best way to approach. Leofric's got a really great thrust from his knees, but Ianto is also well known for his thrusts. Okay, a couple of little passes there. Nothing quite enough on either side. Another approach. His Majesty looking for the thrust. Ianto coming in with the thrust. Goes for the slot, misses it. Oh, and catches the face in the end. And there we go. So Ianto taking that as a face shot as it landed kind of just on the inside of his faceplate there. Bit of a lucky shot by His Majesty in regards to it landing. Like, I don't know if you can hear it, but he was like, not sure. And he's like, no, it was face. And because it's face, he's going to take it. Because obviously if we get hit in the face, we take those a little bit softer. So it was a good 30 seconds to a minute fight there. So let's trail back. There's a couple of things I want to look at in regards to the 3 shots that we talked about in that approach. But we'll start. Oh, I think we've gone too far there. So this must be about the beginning of it here. Yep, here we go. So we'll have another look here. Great. So that's the leg shot. So let's step back and see what the setup of that was. Nice, really clean leg shot. Lovely leg shot. Beautiful. So His Majesty, wide stance. Look at the width of this stance. Ianto, a little bit harder to see there, but that's a little bit, it's not as wide. Definitely still a wide stance, but a really wide stance by Leofric here. And then Ianto presses forward, throws the sword out to try and, I suspect, to try and create the impression that there might be something coming for the thrust. Ianto has a very effective thrust game, and Leofric will be aware of that. So if there is a face thrust coming, Leofric will be conscious of that. Leofric has his sword still poised high, knowing that he's got the time to decide where he's going to throw that shot as Ianto approaches here. So this is a really great position, great defensive spot, but he is very planted. If you look at his feet, this wide stance here, and he's slightly leaning forward here, he is planted. There is going to be very hard for him to move from this position. All right, so you got that lean forward, lovely defensive position for the shield up high, very large gap here, and the spinal alignment here, you can see Ianto is really nice and aligned, but yet we've got His Majesty with a nice big break in his spinal alignment there. So he's quite planted there. And so we see the benefit of that as Ianto comes forward, in that he's thrown something high. Oh, let's just click back on here, and I'll just back out of that. So And he's done a great job here, Ianto, because he's thrown something high, keeping the shield high. So you can see there, His Majesty Leofric has pushed the shield into the sword, trying to make sure that there's no chance for that to come through. And as he's done that, Ianto has changed the line. Done a really great job getting around the shield, pops one straight down to this really open leg. And I love watch Ianto's shield on the left, shield rising up. And because he's beyond the shield edge, that wrap from His Majesty has caught the shield edge, and Ianto's nice and safe there. So really great shot. Good coverage on the out there. Ianto didn't get too lazy. If His Majesty wasn't thinking about the fact that he just had his leg taken, he could have dropped this shot as he's dropping across here. No, he probably couldn't. I was going to say he could potentially have dropped a shot into the upper side of his head. He's got the range, but it might be just a little bit too far away. He's already stepping back to drop to his knees. He could have fallen forward onto his knees and thrown that snap as he was falling, and potentially could have killed Ianto when you look at how exposed Ianto is coming out of that shot. So let's have a look at that. So Ianto's coming out of here. So the wrap comes up. If he had dropped forward on his knees at this point and thrown a high snap, expecting that shield to drop, His Majesty could potentially have slapped him in the side of the head. Something to be aware of. So, not breaking convention, not overstaying his welcome on his feet because he's taken the leg. If he was to fall forward, to drop to his knees and throw that high snap as he did, there's a good chance he may have landed that shot. But he decided to step back, and as a result, Ianto gets to reset. Now, Ianto's taking a very Saber-like approach here. Ianto is known in our local parts for his thrust game. He's really developed it over the last couple of years. He can be quite effective with it. There's some times when he uses it when he's a bit too close, but it's always a bit of a worry when he's going to come out with a bit of a thrust. So Leofric will be concerned about that. Great. Yeah, and so Lee pulls his sword up to engage the sword and stops that thrust from being able to just roll in. So this is sort of thing you'll see in rapier fights as well, where they cross those swords to get that control, and you want to have that quick control and pivot. Now, as heavy fighters, we don't have quite the nimbleness that some of the rapier fighters do, so we don't see that as often. But when you get this connection point, obviously that thrust isn't going to be able to just slide in. So we get that nice little roll forward, a little bit of a push there, a little bit of a push back. You can see this sort of pressure being applied between the two swords there, which I really like. Ianto pulls his up, dips it under, and goes for the... I thought he was going to go for the thrust. He doesn't. His Majesty actually rides low, and neither of them actually connect anything. So let's go back and just have a look at that. A little bit of a push. Great. And so His Majesty drops it low to try and get that leg shot, but there's obviously just not enough in it. Great sword defense there by Ianto, coming up high and blocking that sword. He's actually throwing an attack. He just happens to catch that sword in its wake, which is great. But good anticipation of going where the space was. Quite like that. Now, these are the three shots I was really wanting to look at. So we'll get in. Boom, boom, boom. Those three shots, all of them really clearly defended. So let's have a look at why. So we'll play that up until we get that step in right. So from here, what I really want you to have a look at, what I noticed, the thing I noticed about this is Ianto's arm here, yeah? But what I want you to do is look at how engaged his body is in this series of shots. So and we'll do this in frame by frame. So I'll get my cursor back. So let's go forward. Pulls the hand and the wrist back, the elbow pops forward to drop the tip down and give you a little bit of momentum. But look at this. The arm swings across. There is no body roll with that shot, so very little power there. It's just blocking the space. Pulls the arm back. The shoulder rises up a little. He's trying to get this kind of angle in down here. But again, all shield there. And because he's just using the arm, there's no real kind of ability to kind of get around the shield. And there's no real force behind it either. And this one, the arm comes back. The body is cocked back. And look at this. He throws this wrap high into the shield, which is, again, just wonderfully defended by Leofric. But not a lot of body in that. So he's not using his body to help cut the range as he throws that shot. Pulls the arm back, the body recocks. And again, this is just an arm dropping down. There's a little bit of a body crunch here as he steps out. But because he's moving backwards, there's no real power in that shot either, and it just goes straight into the shield, which is the most likely place that you would expect that shot to go, from high to low. So if he could have gone from high and maybe popped high on that retreat, he may have been able to come into potentially this gap here as he steps away. Leofric has this amazing shot that he will do where he will drop his sword down low as he's stepping to the side, and it cuts under your shield and into your body when you're fighting someone on their knees. Ianto could take that shot and do that same thing here, and possibly could have come into this incredible gap just here. So something to note for later. But a lot of those shots just really well covered because they're pretty standard placements. There wasn't anything really great about the line of those. Ianto in his position, let's have a look again. Look at where he positions himself. He stays pretty flat on in the front. Bit of a step there, but doesn't really come too far past to really change the line. Doesn't, like, Leofric's shield is nice, and again, pointing at the screen, you can't see that. Leofric's shield is really high here. So let me, so this opportunity here, look at this distance here. Ianto has an opportunity to press his shield. Shield to shield here, Leofric will not be able to get that shield to drop. And then all of this is open here. So on this step in, if he'd actually pressed that shield and connected with that shield to shield, he would have had a much better chance of actually keeping that lower body and the back exposed. So let's have a look at what actually plays out again. Yeah, and so instead of, again, rolling out with that third shot, he could have held his position and stayed in and been able to expose a shot into this back area here. So by retreating, he's reduced his opportunity to throw another shot there with any real effect. But he survives the engagement, which is always good against Leofric, and he lives to fight another day. So comes in, tipped down on this one. Leofric's poised for a thrust. Oh, see that little whip back? Lee's great at that. He'll pop that back, because then he will just rip the body forward. As I kick the microphone, he'll rip that body forward and throw that shot in nice and low if the gap's there, like if you go too high with your shield. Nice. Look at that. It's a great little engagement there. Fairly controlled. No real amazing line, but Ianto did a good job there, coming in and stepping again around and not staying really square on. Used his line there to try and get around. Just mistimed that shot to catch the shield there. And Leofric's defense is, of course, very, very good. So interesting. Ianto feels like he's covered with the range at this point. See how that front tip is down? Look at where that tip is. He feels that he's got plenty of space here by leaving this whole section here exposed. So he's obviously looking over the top of it here. He knows that, you know, at this range, he feels comfortable enough that Leofric can't actually strike him. So he's, you know, just taking a nice relaxed spot there. And as he comes in, he pops that shield up. But look at how Leofric manages to almost connect that thrust. Like if he didn't get that shield, if he was half a beat slower on that shield rise, that thrust is connecting. Look at that. It's perfectly positioned right towards his eye. And this here, that little pop of the shield has helped just a little kick forward. His head's tipping back and the shield's just popped that sword high and bounced it up. So it's not going to make it. He goes in for a thrust of his own, gets denied. Sword is pushed down to the ground. Beautiful. Sword comes up. Bit of a shield press here, which is lovely. Leofric connects up the back, catches a bit of shield, But Ianto doesn't keep the pressure on the shield here. He lets it roll off. Whereas if he'd stayed on with that pressure, it would have been a very different game. And I probably wouldn't have gone for the head if that pressure was still there. Beautiful slot here coming down on the inside, just misses it. But again, look at this. He drops to position and then throws the shot. As the shot's coming in here, there is just arm attached to that. There is no body crunch. If he had crunched as that got to that point, that would have whipped in with more power. And if he keeps the wrist nice and loose, it's going to whip the tip in faster and actually connect with a lot of power, So it could be undeniable. And even if that was just an arm, that's a massive advantage against someone like Leofric. But here he's just shifted his line too far, and he's now exposed on this side of the head. And you can see it connect there as he comes over the top. Beautifully open and enough landing there. And it is a bit deeper, so Ianto must have felt the connection point here. Because even though the tip is definitely on the side of the helm there, on this line, that's possibly not actually connecting, and it might be that section there that he's felt. And when he talks about it afterwards, you can sort of see him saying it was the inside of the face. So I suspect he's felt it just connect in that spot right there. That was the worst X in the world. I apologize for that. So there you go. Left himself a little open trying to throw the Molinet. And oh, no. So Leofric misses that one. I missed that. I got that wrong. So it's actually the second shot that he lands. So the first one must have hit the side of the helmet. So the first one hits the side of the helm, calls it no good. And it's this one, the retreat shot that he takes. Great. So not good enough there, which is fair enough because it doesn't look like it's got a lot in it. Throws a retreat, leaves his shield super far out there, but drops it rather than pulling it up and away with him. So the arm is extended as he pulls away, that natural action of this, that sort of shield dropping as you create that distance, that hand just tends to drop. That hand just tends, sorry, I don't know if you could hear that because the microphone's a bit further away. But that natural action, as you pull this away, this hand with the shield and the weight of the shield will tend to stay there and potentially even drop. And that's what you see happening right there. So the weight of his body pulling away, he hasn't kept that engagement in his elbow to bring the shield with him as he came, as he backed up. He's pulled away like this, and that's naturally helped that shield drop a bit. And Leofric has come over the top, and smacked straight into the faceplate. So again, just unforced error, as you would call it in tennis, where he has let his shield drop a little bit too much on the exit, and allowed His Majesty to catch that shot. So there you go. Fun little fight. That was really great. Some lovely, lovely stuff in there from Ianto. Really enjoyed the way that he changed the line when he approached. And he actually, both times that he approached, he did change what he was doing. So the first time he came in, he was a little bit too square. Did try and change the line a bit. Second time he came in, really trying to change the line differently and found some different shots. Wasn't quite enough body behind those shots. They were very arm-based, which probably didn't help him. But a lovely approach against a great fighter. Really good approach. So again, sadly, he lost the fight, but definitely some excellent stuff from both of them. So there we go. Thanks very much for joining me as we start to dig a little bit deeper into some of these fights, and I'll see you on the next one.